Hi, this is Rev Joy, and this time I'd like to talk to you about unconditional love. First, we'll start off with a definition. What is unconditional love, and where does it come from? In my point of view, unconditional love is best expressed as agape. I think of Christ when I think of unconditional love. After all, he made enormous sacrifices for people that hadn't been born yet. So that is the most perfect example of selfless love with no expectations of anything in return. There are no limitations, and it's not dependent on us doing anything other than, well, being obedient to the things Christ asked us to do. But I do still feel that God loves us simply because we are His creation. And that agape also includes completely unconditional love that is freely given to every human being and every soul on this planet. And I do feel that God asks us to show unconditional love to other human beings that are alive, that we meet every day, as a price to pay in exchange for all the blessings we have in our human lives. So we simply show that by, yes, we pay back God by showing agape to everyone around us, whether they're far away, whether they're close, whether they are like us or different. We still express the same agape. And I can tell you my story. It's very simple. I developed unconditional love because I became a mother. And there's an additional part. I want to thank God because my 3 sons had autism spectrum. So my 3 sons were the best teachers for unconditional love. So I'm going to take a minute to tell my 3 sons that I love them, because I'm recording this in hopes that if something happens to me because of my health problems, that they will always have this so I can give them advice. But the reason why is if you've been around a child with autism, you know that they can be kind of prickly. They can be picky eaters that require a short order cook. They're not quite affectionate. You can't hug and kiss them like other kids right away. It just takes longer to develop. So there's a lot of things I had to overcome to fully love my children for who they were. So that was the best example for unconditional love. No matter what they did, no matter what actions they did that were not pleasing, not what I would like, I love them anyway. They're always going to be my child, no matter what they do. They're always going to be my child, and I love them if they make a mistake, if they make me angry, if they didn't do their chores I asked them to do. But that's the way God would think of us, the same way. Even if we're not perfect, God loves us no matter what. And I found peace being a mother with autistic children. Like, I know a lot of people would feel like, oh my God, she's so horrible. What did she do to get kids like that? Yeah, I didn't do drugs. I got lucky. I looked for the message from God in my life, and I found it. It was unconditional love. And no matter what happens to us, no matter what happens to me, Unconditional love is going to be how I choose to be grateful for what I have. And I feel that that's unconditional love is very important. And I feel it does require change to learn to express it. To best serve God with unconditional love, we must give up on sin. And yes, sins are explained in every religious tradition as something that's to be avoided. And it does give suggestions on what to do to gain more unconditional love or God's grace or blessings from God. I feel that when we begin to practice unconditional love and shower it around, we begin to see the fingerprint or the DNA of God everywhere and in every human being. And then that just makes it easier and easier to express unconditional love. And the thing is, what we know about our world, what we know about human DNA, it's only a drop. But what we don't know about is an ocean. But it's the things we don't know about might be what God wants us to know. I was once afraid to share my thoughts and get my voice out. But I have been blessed. Since my first live recording here, my home is no longer at risk of foreclosure. So I'm so grateful to be blessed for my commitment to continue on the mission I feel God gave me to serve. I feel I need to share the most difficult times of my life to give someone else hope. And I do feel, as we live in Revelation right now, and we feel like we're in the final end times, we don't know, no prophet. There's nothing in the New Testament of Christ beyond Revelation. It feels so uncertain. But I do feel that unconditional love is the cure for that uncertainty. If we can only reach for God to learn unconditional love and express it to everyone around us, our lives will be greatly improved. Humanity can be improved. And the reason why I mentioned talking about my autistic young man is because autistic children worldwide are killed or suffer. And that's from the lack of compassion, understanding, and love. I do also want to share. There's also a book that did help me in several ways. Because in order to, the first thing you need to know to practice unconditional love is learning to love yourself unconditionally. And that can be a very difficult thing. For me, I knew I wasn't perfect. I knew I could never be perfect. Only Christ was perfect. But in the book, Path to Love by Deepak Chopra, I realized that, yes, I did not know a lot about love. For example, what do you see in romance novels, movies? It's romantic love. That's where love is dependent on things like, well, is this person attractive? Well, that's not permanent. Is this person wealthy? While it's good for selecting someone for a spouse, wealth is not permanent. But the truth is, if you give someone unconditional love, they can develop and blossom with unconditional love to have love. They are tied together. And sexual acts, well, they're temporary. You wouldn't want to have sex 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No, that's not fulfilling. But unconditional love is. Also, for example, here, when I was growing up, love could be dependent on if I did what other people wanted, if I acted the way they wanted, if I wore the clothes they wanted me to wear, if I hung out at such a place and drank their beer and did that and did this. But none of those things matter. They're not unconditional love. That's just a love of material things, temporary things, things that don't last. But unconditional love is permanent. Unconditional love is something that can never be taken away. Unconditional self-love is not dependent on anything else. For example, if you're unsure, if you have unconditional self-love, if you think during the day, oh, and look in the mirror, oh, I'd only love myself if my gray hair was gone. I'd only love myself if I had curly hair or straight hair or what, blonde hair, brown hair, doesn't matter. If I lose 20 pounds, if I was smart enough, did I get that master's degree or that PhD? If I was wealthy enough, how many zeros are in my salary? Am I married or single? Well, the thing is, with unconditional love, it really doesn't matter. Because the most important thing about unconditional self-love is that no matter what we've done, no matter what we can ever do, we must know that we are worthy of love and we are worthy of our own love. And once we have that love, we are worthy of love from other people. We are worthy to always give love. And yes, from the book again, I'll go back. The benefits of love. The benefits of love can change the world. How? For each person that has received unconditional love, whether self-love or from someone else, guess what? That love can heal them. That love can renew them. That love can make us safe. That love can inspire us with its power. That love can bring us closer to God. That love can make us certain and without doubt. Love can oust all fear. Love can unveil immortality because it is. Oh, I'll get back there. Let me finish the list from Deepak Chopra before I continue. Love can bring peace. Love can harmonize differences. Love, again, love can change the world. And so many of these things are the bad things I just read from that list, the things that need healing and attention in the modern world. It is because we are in a rough spot. We are in a rough time. And humanity has a choice, I feel. I feel like that choice is as simple as, can we accept and practice unconditional love? Or is that going to be a final chapter for the earth and humans here? That's what I feel the message that, well, Revelation doesn't quite say, but why it's the end of the New Testament. It's not the end, but it's meant to give us a choice. Did we pass the test of learning agape the way Christ taught it? Does humanity deserve to continue to survive? And yes, if you read the Bible, you see how many times did God give humanity a choice to obey or be destroyed. I don't want to be a doom and gloom person because there's always hope. That's what unconditional love does. If you have unconditional self-love, you can't help but hope. You can't help but smile. It doesn't matter if everybody else is down. You're going to be the one smiling. And guess what that really does? That helps the people around you smile, love, and their bad day might go away. So yes, it's worthwhile to try unconditional love. And yes, sadly, unconditional love is exactly the opposite of hate. But when you have unconditional love, it's complete. You don't need anything. You don't require anything. Your needs are met. And yes, that's whether you're rich or poor. Unconditional love fills in the gaps. And yes, if you've learned unconditional love, you're complete. Whether or not you have a twin flame, soulmate, whether you're an ex-wife, whether or not your children are with you, your children are far, you have all that you need. It is not conditional. It is not conditional on anything else in your life. But most importantly, I want to say this, especially for my young men. Don't seek love. Because when you seek love, you're putting conditions where there shouldn't be. And I hope that you will learn to trust God enough to let God surprise you with love. Because once you have unconditional self-love, God will let you know you've done a good job. So today, it's November 27th. It's Giving Tuesday. So I want to ask that if you enjoyed my message, please bless someone today. It's the end of the month, and there are homeless, there are hungry people everywhere, especially in the U.S. Wherever you are, give to someone local. Show agape. Practice it, cultivate it. Let it be the first thing that lives in your heart, your mind, your soul. In peace and love, Rev Joy.